This is 2 Minutes Together, a ministry of Central Lutheran Church, Eugene, Oregon. I'm Pastor Ben. This week we have a special service of reconciliation on this coming Tuesday, the 17th, at 7 o'clock. I invite you all there, but I'd like to emphasize and think about reconciliation in a Christian context. Because, of course, there's a lot of movement toward reconciliation. We are a divided and conflicted society and world. And there is much import in doing that just in political and social spheres. But we as followers of Jesus frame this a little differently. That is, we look at a divided and wounded world at odds with itself. And in order to address that, we don't ignore that world divided with itself, but we start in some ways vertically. We start by being reconciled to God. That we recognize that the problem that we face is not merely opinion and disagreement, but the power of sin and death and pain and wound in this world, which is to say, there is a spiritual problem in this world. And it's not so easy as to simply say that there are some good people and some bad people, or there are good spiritual forces and bad spiritual forces. Not at all. Instead, we say we live in a spiritually broken world that does also remain a good creation. And it's really important to understand that good creation hasn't stopped being a good creation just because of the power of sin. Instead, we live in a conflicted space, that the division between saint and sinner goes right through every one of us. And so when we come together spiritually for reconciliation, it's not just where we are opposed, how do we find common ground? It is, how do we find who we are before ourselves as united, as deeply conflicted people? That the problem is much more deep than a matter of opinion. And that if we can be righted with ourselves, that we can see ourselves in one another, see the image of God in one another, and finally be able to choose love, as we have been empowered to do through the power of Jesus. And thereby, we can come to social reconciliation, but only through the spiritual power of who Jesus is in our lives and in our world. That's what we're going to be exploring in this special worship service. How are we reconciled? How is our society reconciled? How are we one in Christ? This has been 2 Minutes Together. I'm Pastor Ben.